Level 1, Thrall. You are nobody. One of maybe 30 working this farmstead, and the Jarl who owns it doesn't know your name any more than he knows the names of his chickens. You've been hauling timber since before dawn. Your back hurts. It hurt yesterday. You stopped noticing around the third week. You weren't born here. You were taken. A raid 3 winters ago. A coastal village, fog on the water, then a rope around your wrists on a longship heading north. You remember the smell of salt and smoke. You remember nothing else about that day on purpose. You sleep near the animals. Not with them. Near them. There's a difference, and on cold nights it matters less than you'd like. You eat what's left. You own nothing. Not the clothes on your back, not the knife you used to cut your food. If you ran, you'd be brought back. To the law, you aren't a person. You're an expensive piece of livestock with a pulse. If someone kills you, they don't go to trial. They just pay your owner for the property damage. But you watch. You watch how the free farmer speaks to the Jarl. You watch which thralls get trusted with more. You are invisible, and invisible men see everything. Some thralls buy their freedom. It takes years. Most don't live that long. Level 2, Freedman. 12 acres. That's the number you've had in your head for 2 years. 12 acres, a boundary stone, and a dozen neighbors who will swear at the assembly that the land is yours. In this world, a man's word is his contract. And you are finally a person with land. That's been the whole plan since the morning someone paid your price and handed you your freedom like a damp rag. You are free. You also have nothing. No land yet. No weapons worth mentioning. No family name that means anything in this village. You do the same work as before, but now you get paid for it. A little. You sleep in a smaller building instead of the longhouse floor. You can go to the assembly and stand in the field with the other men, though no one looks at you when you speak. They're polite about it, which is almost worse. Freedom is not the same as belonging. You know that now. So you hire yourself out. You cut wood, mend fences, crew a fishing boat in the bad months when the landowners need extra hands. Every coin goes toward the land. Some weeks it feels close. Some weeks it doesn't. But 12 acres is still the number. Level 3, Carl. The land is yours. 12 acres of it. Rocky and difficult, but yours. You have owed all rights. A claim to the soil that goes back to your grandfather, recognized by every man in the valley, witnessed at the assembly by 2 men who owe you nothing, and confirmed it anyway. You've read it so many times you have it memorized, which is impressive because you can't actually read. You have a wife, 2 children, a cow, an axe that belonged to your father, which makes it the most valuable thing you own, and also the thing you'd least like to use. Your life is weather. Too much rain and the barley rots. Too little and it doesn't grow. You watch the sky the way other men watch their enemies. You attend the assembly when it's called, vote on the cases, stand with the other free farmers and say your piece. Your voice counts as much as any man's there, which is to say, somewhat. More than a thrall's. Less than a jarl's. Welcome to the middle. You have rights, though. You can carry weapons. You can blood feud if someone wrongs your family, and the law will back you. A thrall has no feud rights. A freedman's are thin. Yours are real. If a man kills your son, you can kill his. In summer, a jarl's man came through asking for oarsmen. Good pay, share of the plunder, 2 seasons away. You thought about it for 3 days. Then you looked at your children and said no. Maybe next summer. Level 4, craftsman. Your hands are worth more than your sword arm, and you made peace with that a long time ago. Roughly around the 3rd time you tried sparring and someone's 12-year-old son knocked you down. You work iron, or wood, or leather, or you carve the prows of longships into serpents and dragons that men will name and remember long after the wood rots. Your tools are your inheritance. Your skill is your rank. Raiders might burn the village, but they'll usually try to take you alive. A dead farmer is just a body, but a living blacksmith is a portable weapon factory. The Jarl needs you specifically. He needs weapons that don't shatter in the cold, shields that hold their shape after the first charge, longships that don't drink water through their seams. He can hire 100 fighting men. He cannot hire another you, which is a fact you mentioned, carefully, respectfully, exactly once. It worked. You don't go on raids, you stay and build. When the ships come back, you see the silver in the stories, and sometimes you feel it, the pull of something you chose not to do. But then you look at your workshop. At the thing you made yesterday, still perfect in the morning light. You're still here. The men who went are not always. Level 5, Skald. You remember everything. Every battle, every insult, every gift, every line of every poem you've ever heard going back to age 7, listening to your uncle recite by firelight. Your memory is your weapon, and occasionally your curse, because you remember things people would very much prefer you forgot. And they know it. You sit at the Jarl's table. You sit near the high seat, close enough to smell the Jarl's breath. You aren't a servant. You're a one-man PR firm with a harp, which tells you exactly what you are. But you eat the same food. You drink the same mead. And when the hall goes quiet and the Jarl nods at you, 200 people stop talking. You built that with words and nothing else. The reputation came verse by verse. A praise poem for a merchant who needed his courage remembered. A funeral verse for a free farmer's son that the father still recites to himself. A vicious satire about a rival Jarl that spread across 3 fjords in a single summer and cost that man 2 alliances. Words travel faster than ships. You proved that. Now the Jarl wants you to make him immortal. What he doesn't fully understand is that a good poet doesn't just record what happened. He decides what happened. That power is quiet and permanent. The price is this. You also have to make him sound good when he isn't. You were there at the river last autumn. You know what really happened. The poem you wrote says something different, and it is, if anything, better verse for the lie. Poets don't lie. They arrange the truth carefully. Level 6 Huskarl. You are the Jarl's man, not one of his men. His man. You sleep under his roof, eat at his table, go where he goes. Your loyalty is not a feeling. It's a contract, formalized and witnessed. He feeds you, arms you, gives you silver. You fight for him and die for him if it comes to it. Your weapons are better than anything a free farmer could afford. Your shield is iron-bossed. Your sword was made by a craftsman who knew what he was doing, and you've trained with it every day for 4 years. In the village, you have a reputation. Men step aside. You were in the raid on the Frisian coast 2 summers ago. You took 3 men in the fighting on the beach, and the Jarl saw it. That night he called you forward in front of the whole hall and slid a gold arm ring over your wrist. 200 people watched. Nobody said a word. That moment meant he looked at you, specifically, and decided you were worth remembering. What nobody tells you before you sign on. You are always on. There is no rest in someone else's hall. You sleep with one eye toward the door, eat with your back to the wall. You are comfortable and protected and well-fed, and the life you're living belongs entirely to another man. Level 7, Berserker. Before the battle, you go somewhere else. Not in your head. Somewhere else. You've never been able to explain it, and you stop trying. You wear the bear skin when the mood takes you, or just your war paint and a look in your eye that makes your own allies back away, which the other men find worse. You bite down on the rim of your shield. Your hands shake. Your vision collapses to a point, and then something lets go, deep in the chest, and you stop thinking about dying in the way that a hammer doesn't think about the nail. The Jarl puts you at the front, because sometimes the enemy sees you coming and simply makes a decision. You've watched trained fighters, men who have held the line in 6 battles, take one look at what you are and quietly move to the back. After the battle, the return takes time. The shaking goes deeper now, less electric, more like a tide going out. You sit apart. Other men bring you food and water and don't make eye contact, and you understand why. You were something else for a while. They saw it. You are the most feared man in the warband and also, without question, the loneliest. The thing that makes you useful in a fight makes you wrong everywhere else. You broke 2 men's jaws in peacetime, both times in a fog you couldn't remember afterward. The Jarl keeps you anyway. Too valuable to let go. Too unpredictable to fully trust. Both of you understand this. Neither of you says it. Level 8, Herseer. Rating Commander. You command men. Real numbers. 60, 80, sometimes more. Free farmers, household warriors, freedmen looking for silver. They follow you because you've earned it raid by raid, and because the Jarl named you. You own good land. Not 12 rocky acres. Real farmland, with tenants who owe you a portion of the harvest. You have a longship. When you walk into a village that's never seen you before, someone already knows your name. That took 10 years to build, and you're aware it could be gone by spring if you make the wrong call. You run the raids. You pick the targets, read the coast, decide when to hit and when to pull back. Last spring, you misjudged the tide off the English coast and lost a ship with 7 men on it. You knew their names. You gave them a proper send-off, said the right words, and then the next morning planned the next raid, because falling apart is a luxury commanders don't get. The Jarl doesn't sail on every raid. You do. He takes a cut of everything you bring back and hosts the feast you never get to sit at the head of. The men who follow you think about silver and glory. That's your job too, keeping their version of the math simple. You carry the complicated one alone. You've thought about this at length. You keep thinking. Level 9, Priest. You have never led a raid. You have never needed to. You are the keeper of things the warriors don't understand and quietly fear. You run the sacrifices, the rituals that keep the gods interested in this community, that keep harvests coming and storms manageable. You know which days are sacred, which men are cursed, what it means when the ravens circle from the wrong direction. You are not performing. You genuinely believe all of this, which makes you more frightening, not less. The warriors respect you the way men respect a fire. Carefully, at a distance. Your authority depends on them not fully understanding what you do. You also judge disputes, land claims, debts, accusations. You speak at the assembly and people listen because ignoring the priest means ignoring the gods, and nobody wants that problem following them home. The Jarl needs your blessing before his campaigns. The most dangerous man in this region cannot move without nodding at you first. You've never held a sword in a real fight. You find this arrangement perfectly reasonable. You give the blessing mostly. You're not a fool. But you keep a ledger in your head of every favor extended and everyone collected, and it never quite balances in their favor. Level 10. Kingsman. The king gave you this land, not the Jarl. The king himself, with a document and a ceremony and witnesses from 3 different regions. That is the most important sentence in your life, and you think about it almost every day. You hold this territory on behalf of the crown. You collect taxes, raise men when called, administer justice, and send the crown's portion upward in silver without fail. You are the king's instrument in a place the king will never visit. You are also technically above the Jarl. In theory, in law, on paper. The Jarl's family has held this valley for 3 generations. He has more men, more ships, more loyalty from the people who actually live here. When you and the Jarl walk into the same hall, every head turns to him first. You are a document. He is a fact. He smiles when he sees you. It is a very careful smile. You write your reports to the king with great precision, neither provoking the Jarl nor making yourself seem decorative. It is a narrow path. You walk it every day and sometimes in your sleep. The thing that keeps you awake isn't the Jarl. It's the question of what happens to you if the king dies before you've made this position solid enough to survive without him. Level 11, Jarl. 300 men owe you their lives. Not loyalty, their lives, specifically. Because without your silver and your ships and your name, most of them would be scratching at bad land and bad weather until something killed them early. You are not sentimental about this. It is simply the arrangement. Your hall is the largest building for 40 miles. The carved entrance post took a craftsman 2 years. The high seat is older than your grandfather. Men come to you with their problems every week and you solve them. Or you make a decision and call it solved, which is the same thing at this level. You have 8 longships. You've raided England twice, Ireland once, and the Frankish coast enough times that you know their church bells by sound. The silver is real. The reputation is real. The stories about you, half aren't true, but all of them are useful, so you've never corrected one. Here's what nobody says plainly about being a Jarl. It's hereditary in every direction. Your son will likely be a Jarl, assuming he's strong enough to hold what you've built, and the farmers are still too intimidated to vote for anyone else at the assembly. Your daughter will marry one. The thralls near the animals in your longhouse. Their children will do the same. You sit at the top of a world designed to keep everyone where they already are, and you sit at the best part of it. The king wants your loyalty, formally, publicly. He's been sending messengers, polite ones for now, asking you to acknowledge his authority in a way that costs you nothing in silver and everything in standing. Every man in your hall would see it. Every Jarl for 100 miles would hear about it before the week was out. You've been considering your answer for 6 months. Your commanders are watching you arrive at it. Level 12, King. The title took a war to get. 2 winters of it. You remember the final battle, a frozen field, the enemy's shield wall thinner than your scouts had promised, the moment it cracked and broke. You stood there afterward, breath coming in clouds, and tried to feel something large enough to match the moment. It didn't quite come. You remember the men who died getting you here. You remember some of their names, and the ones you don't bother you more than the ones you do. Now you sit in a hall twice the size of any Jarls. 30 Jarls send you silver and pledges and very carefully worded letters. The silver is good. The pledges mean nothing until they're tested. You have problems a sword can't solve. A drought in the eastern valleys, people hungry and looking for someone to blame. A border dispute between 2 Jarls that will become a war whichever way you rule. A Christian bishop from the south with trade goods, and a pleasant manor who has already converted 200 people in your port town, which is either fine or a catastrophe and you genuinely can't tell yet. You didn't fight 2 winters of war to arbitrate grain disputes. And yet here you are, every morning, doing exactly that. Your personal guard, 100 fighters, are loyal because you pay them and because they chose you in the battle and have no clean way to unchoose you now. You trust them the way you trust the weather. Mostly it holds. The Jarls to your east have gone quiet this season. Men who are planning something always go quiet first. You send scouts, send gifts to the ones you're uncertain about, summoned the ones you're more uncertain about, and dealt with the one you were certain about 2 months ago in a way that will never appear in any document. That last part you'll carry alone. Level 13. High King. 4 kings bent the knee at the assembly last summer. You stood on the law rock and listened to them swear their oaths and watched their faces while they did it. Every single one of them was lying. You know that. They know you know. This is understood by everyone present and nobody says it, which is how power works at this altitude. You don't control the north. The land makes it impossible, and the people make it worse. What you control is the story. The story that says there is one man above all others on this coastline, that his name travels ahead of his ships, that the kings of other lands write him letters instead of declarations of war. The King of England sent you one last year, not a threat. Worse, a trade proposal. He thinks you're stable enough to do business with. Coming from a man whose throne has changed hands 4 times in 20 years, that's nearly a compliment. Your sons are watching you. 2 of them are grown men, which means 2 of them are potential kings, which means you watch them back. You love them, and you count their ships when the reports come in. There are days you think about the frozen field where the last war ended. A shield wall, an enemy, a decision with an immediate answer. Win or lose, you found out that day. The high seat never tells you. You make a decision in the morning and spend the next 3 years finding out if it was right, by which point you've made 40 more on top of it. You eat well. You sleep in a carved bed with armed men at the door. You have more silver than you can spend and more enemies than you can name. You are the most powerful man in the north and you would not trade it for anything. The dangerous ones were never beyond the walls. You knew that before you took the throne. You just thought you'd be better at handling it by now.